definitely seems like a wild and fun thing to make. So how did it come your way? I mean, what were you told about it? What was the pitch like? What sort of tagline were you given when this came your way? Because it seems like it's very hard to describe.
Well, I've known Donovan Leitch a long time, and he's one of the producers on it, one of the main producers on it, and he just contacted me, and I've done things with him over the years, but he asked me to come and meet Janell, and we went to the Chateau Marmont, and I read this, and I read the script, and I couldn't, I really enjoyed it, and I sort of enjoyed the, obviously everyone goes to their own part first, like scan it, see how much you're in it, and what's the dialogue like, and I liked it, and I thought it was super spirited and spunky, and I liked Eric. I liked my character for the kind of basic human errors and sad fall from grace and just like messy life. I found that interesting. It's more interesting than sort of like a buff superhero stuff. I thought it was like cool, and I met Janell, and she was just a lot of fun, and was just all she wanted to talk about was the art direction of the sex club they were going to shoot at, which was nothing to do with my character. So I was like, okay, I like this girl. She's a little crazy. And it was a really fun experience. I mean, I enjoyed it. I mean, it's hard work for everyone when those indie movies. But I think Bella's fantastic, great to work with. And, Paris is a movie star herself, and amazing. And I got to meet Jamie Hince, who I love from The Kills. And so we worked together on that. And so it just was all these different reasons to make it work, and all these different reasons for it to be a good time. And I can't wait to see. I haven't seen the finished film, so I don't even know what kind of ended up in there. So part of me is a bit cautious because I felt like I super went for it. So I don't know how much of my going for it actually made the cut.
When you're acting in scenes with a fellow musician like Jamie, I mean, is there sort of an unspoken thing that you share with each other? And at the same time, could you have ever imagined that you would be acting in a movie together as a collaboration as opposed to something music related?
No, I mean, first of all, as I say, I love his band. He's a really, really talented guy. And I really, it's hard for me to find bands consistently with lyrics that I love. And I love The Kills from the get-go. Fried My Little Brains all the way through to the last record, So what was funny is that, I didn't want to say anything about it because they were there to act. And he was originally an actor before he was a musician. So I think he was so excited to be in a movie. And we played off of that, and it was only at the end of working together when we were saying goodbye, swapping numbers and all that, that I was like, I got to say, I just love your band. I didn't let on for a few days because it just seemed weird and we weren't in that zone. And but it was brilliant to do that. And he was going off to make a new record, but I don't know there any collaboration there, but I'd be open to it. He's amazing.
Your character finds himself in a rather compromising position with his character and with Queenie. How was it to shoot that whole sequence tied and bound like that? I mean, do you just sort of have to mentally get to a Zen place when you're going to be stuck like that for a bit?
I mean, to me, someone asked me earlier about the link between music and acting. And I think the most important thing in any performance-based work or anything creative, you just have to lose yourself. So for me, I just let go and I think there's an actor. When I first began acting, and I did some studying when I was young, and it was good for me because I was a little uptight, or very uptight. I was a very shy person, and I kind of did this acting course at a place, City Lit in London, for professional actors, a refresher course, just to kind of almost like crack my shell, crack my exterior. I felt like I was just, I hadn't come up through any kind of encouraging parenthood, oh, you're great, oh, you're Picasso, you know what I mean? I had nothing like that. So I think I was a little bit like wary and uptight, like my kids now, you see YouTube stars, they're just amazing on camera. You video them, they're like, hey, they're so loose, it's incredible. So I think it's all about finding a way to be loose and finding a way to just be open. And that's what I did.
You talked about it, you mentioned your kids. Do you listen to music with your kids? What have you taught them about the music you love and listen to, and what do they teach you from music that they listen to?
Well, you got to be careful. I mean, I don't sit. I just play stuff. I don't say you got to listen to that. Obviously, for me, it's interesting because I hear them hearing the kind of fourth in line from where it began. You know, oh, if you like this, you're gonna really like that band. So sometimes I've done that where I might play them the first band, the original band. Like, you know, my eldest son was getting into a lot of, you know, Green Day and that sort of pop punk, and so I just make sure I just play some Sex Pistols, make sure I play the Clash, make sure I play X-Ray Specs, and show him where there's those bands with the original versions of those bands. And um, that's as far as I go, you know, because you got to be careful. I mean, you know, people claim people as their own for their generation, you know, and you don't want to be like an old fart going like, that's no good. Sometimes I find it a bit difficult with some people who just, they're not very good. And I think the originals are better. So all I do is just play the original. And, you know, you got to let them, they've gone through super heavy hip hop phase, like really crazy stuff where I'm just like, man, the words, you know, like it just when a lot of the sort of the bad language that's is really confusing for kids because they hear that and then they think it's okay to speak like that when it's really not. So that's a bit of a dilemma. And you kind of jumping on the thing when it starts getting super like, you know, really overtly aggressive and that stuff is a bit challenging. But generally you got to let them be. And you know, I think it's a natural thing. I think it's more like, for me, I mean, what do I know? But I think that kids is like mirroring. You just behave a certain way and you act a certain way. It's not like, I don't want to be an annoying frequency that's always like correcting and chastising and being annoying. I mean, I'm a musician. I'm a musician and like I have kids as well. It's not like I'm a, you know, that sort of tiger dad. So I just try and behave well. And my kids are really, really polite and they're really funny. And after that, it's all gravy, I think.
I know you've previously talked about how you've written a movie with Janell. What can you say about that movie? How did that happen? What was that experience like to write a movie?
Was just this idea that I had is like a love story in reverse. It's like a horror love story, a love story that goes wrong, and it's so dark and so violent that I rang up Janell asking. I wanted to get a girl writer to help me, and I asked her to make sure that I had a very, really strong woman's voice in it, you know, because I think that's really important nowadays, not least when you look at what's happening in Afghanistan. So strong women, you know, it's a time for everyone to realize how strong women are. And as the world, as it evolves, that's what we celebrate. And so I told her the idea and stuff. She's like, oh my God, I want to direct that. So she's doing that, and we got a friend of hers, Angie Sims, who's a screenwriter, who's I meet with tomorrow to go another round of like the fourth draft. So that's just a really good experience, and just it's a bit like Billy Bob Thornton. You know, I mean, you want to be in a great movie, but no one's going to, you know. I have been cast in this, but it's quite difficult to get cast in movies. You know what I mean? That they're people are so specific what they want, and it's quite hard, you know. So I basically wrote a movie I could be in a lot.
Does that have a title?
Yeah, it's called The Edge of Nowhere.
Oh, you've been doing some acting work for some time now. Did you have a moment or a project where you really felt like an actor and like you knew what that meant as far as the craft of it all goes?
Well, you know, yeah, usually towards the end of the process on my last few days, and I'm feeling all ready and ready to go like an Olympic actor, you know, and then there's no, I sort of fail this audition, fail that audition, you know. And I've gone up for a couple of good things, but and I thought I did pretty good auditions because now you have to self-tape. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to take this personally. That's just not type, because that was, you know, those words sound real, you know. So I don't know. I never feel that good at anything. I think that's a secret to my longevity, is that I'm always fighting to get better. I think that the day that I feel accomplished and assured and overconfident is the day that it all dries up. You know what I mean? So I think that humility and desire to be better is the cornerstone of my entire creative life.
This film has such interesting, diverse female voices with it, from the director to Bella Thorne to Josie Ho. What was it like to work with Bella and with Josie, and how did they compare as scene partners? Because they both very much seem all in.
You're so right. You're so right. Well, also we had this girl, Rain, who was the cinematographer. So it was very strong. I was very happy and proud to be on a movie with a first-time female director, with a female camera woman who'd had a lot of experience from Hong Kong. Great girl, great woman, Rain. And, you know, to me, acting is all about, with other people, it's how you react and how you make it real, you know? And that's what, to me, is the most mesmerizing thing about actors, how they bring words to life and how you believe in them. They create these worlds. And so with Bella, I had this incredible experience where she's so self-assured. She's incredibly charismatic and really, really good. And just, I mean, quite masterful. I mean, she's what, 23, 24, 23 or something, I don't know, 24. And I think she's probably had about 22 years of experience. And so she just brings a confidence that is just really, it's beautiful to watch. And I enjoyed her. She has a lot of power. And then with Jamie, it was interesting because it was his first movie. So even though he's trained as an actor, I think that he was second guessing himself quite a bit. And so when we were rehearsing, the way we work, it just seemed to work, because, you know, things he did that were great really resonated, and then he kept with those. And so that was a whole different thing, you know. With Bella, you're working with this like incredible experience. With Jamie, something different. And with Josie, she's just sort of like slightly, she's slightly bonkers, you know, and she's got an amazing big personality the whole time, you know what I mean? And so her husband was there. I remember saying to him, she's amazing, a little crazy, but she's amazing. And she always like this. She goes, always like this. And so she brought this crazy energy, like the scene where I think the hostage scene, they came in and Josie's got this really animated big energy, and Jamie's a bit more kind of laid back and cool and, like, you know, more street. And they both had different versions of the script. So, you know, they were already at complete odds. Then they had a completely different script. So you can imagine an indie movie was like, I was like, oh shit, okay, who's gonna, does Jamie have to appropriate to her version? Or she didn't have the up-to-date version of the script. So of course that puts Jamie all like freaked out. Now he's worked on it, you know. So all that stuff, I think, is brilliant, you know, feeds into it. And I'm gagged, so I'm like, I would have tried to help, because I knew the lines, because I'd read them so much that I knew everyone's lines. And so it was, that gave it its own energy, you know what I mean? That suddenly, you got that energy in there that you don't realize, the frenetic energy of people not knowing which script to follow at that point. It's brilliant, it's genius, you know. That's like Man Ray at its finest.
Well, the last thing I want to ask you, that Constantine is a movie that has a lot of fans, and they all really love the film and talk about how much they love the film. With everything that you've accomplished in music and now in acting, are you surprised that that's the project that people talk about with you so much? Was there a time that you realized that this movie was going to follow you no matter what else you did?
Well, I don't think about that. I mean, I love it. I mean, people do come up to me with different, you know, I mean, I get plenty of love for the other stuff as well, but for sure for the acting, people love that. The biggest confusion I have is, how are they making like 17 versions of every other movie and Constantine doesn't get like a sequel? And when I did the song for John Wick, and so I saw Keanu, whatever it was, a couple of years ago when that came out, and I said to him, I was like, why is there no Constantine sequel? He goes, I guess it didn't make enough money. I was like, that old commerce thing. So I think that if enough people, you know, show more love, maybe we'll get a sequel, because I think that was a lot of fun to do. And who knows what the hell was going on with that film, but it was amazing. I loved doing it.
Yeah, it's one of those movies that people ask all the time about why there isn't a
Yeah.
sequel, if there'll ever be a sequel. It's one
Yeah,
that I hear.
they did a didn't they do a TV series of it? It's ridiculous. It's so silly. It's such a shame. You know, you think of all the terrible sequels that come out.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know, life. That's art for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, thank you for talking to me about everything. I just, this movie is wild. So thank you so much.
Thank you.